While the world debates trade wars, China is quietly preparing for something far more dangerous in the world's most remote regions, and most people have no clue it's happening. You've heard about China's economic rise, but what you haven't been told is how they're transforming the Himalayas into the ultimate military weapon. Here's the truth defense analysts won't discuss publicly: China isn't just preparing for conflict with India, they're rewriting mountain warfare rules while turning Earth's highest peaks into weapons systems that defy imagination. We're talking about underground cities carved into solid rock at oxygen-starved altitudes, water control systems affecting over 1 billion people, and military tech that makes science fiction look primitive. The geographical curiosities that protected these regions for millennia are now being weaponized in ways that shatter every assumption about natural barriers. While everyone focuses on diplomacy, China has spent decades and billions turning the Himalayas into potentially the most sophisticated military theater in human history. What you're about to discover will change how you understand global power dynamics, because controlling these geographical curiosities means controlling far more than just mountain passes. The border between China and India represents one of the most fascinating and strategically complex geographical curiosities on the planet, stretching over 3,400 kilometers through some of Earth's most challenging terrains. This dividing line isn't just a mark on the map, it winds through the majestic Himalayas, crosses frozen Tibetan plateaus, and traverses deep valleys where the air is so thin that each breath becomes a reminder of the extreme geography. The Aksai Chin region, for instance, sits at an average altitude of 5,000 meters, where temperatures can plummet to -40 degrees Celsius during winter, creating conditions that test the limits of human endurance and military equipment. These natural geographical curiosities have transformed into crucial elements of Chinese military strategy, where each peak, each valley, and each mountain pass can determine the success or failure of future operations. It's like playing chess on a board designed by the gods themselves. Every move must account for terrain that can either be your greatest ally or your most unforgiving enemy. What makes this geography even more intriguing is how it shapes not just military strategies, but the entire economic and social dynamics of the region. China has invested billions in constructing roads that defy the laws of physics, snaking along steep slopes where a single miscalculated turn could mean hundreds of meters drop. The Karakoram Highway, connecting China to Pakistan, is considered one of modern engineering's wonders, built at altitudes that would make any veteran engineer question their sanity. These curiosities of military engineering aren't just demonstrations of technological power, they represent strategic lifelines that can sustain military operations in one of the world's most inhospitable regions. When you observe these constructions in satellite images, it's impossible not to be impressed by the human audacity to challenge terrains that seem designed by nature to remain untouched. The Chinese understand that controlling these geographical curiosities means controlling the very arteries through which modern warfare flows. But here's something few understand about these geographical curiosities: they're not just obstacles to be overcome, but strategic weapons in themselves. China has learned to use the terrain as a force multiplier, transforming every natural feature into a tactical advantage. Controlling specific passes, like Nathula Pass or the Doklam Heights, isn't just about territory, it's about dominating the corridors that control the flow of people, goods, and most importantly, strategic information. Imagine having the power to close or open a passage that can affect the trade of billions of people. That's the geopolitical reality these mountains create. Chinese preparation isn't just focused on how to fight in this terrain, but on how to use geography itself as an extension of their military strategy, where each natural element becomes part of a much larger geopolitical chess game being played at the world's highest elevations. China's military infrastructure development in the Himalayan regions represents one of the most ambitious geographical curiosities in modern military engineering, where ancient mountain ranges meet cutting-edge technology. The Chinese have been systematically constructing what military analysts call vertical fortresses, installations that aren't just built on mountains, but carved into them, utilizing the natural geographical curiosities as both camouflage and protection. These underground facilities, some extending hundreds of meters into solid rock, house everything from missile systems to entire command centers, creating a network that's virtually invisible from satellite surveillance. The Tibetan Plateau alone hosts over 50 major military installations, each designed to take advantage of specific geographical features: high-altitude lakes for hydroelectric power, natural caves for ammunition storage, and strategic peaks for communication arrays. It's like watching a master sculptor work, except instead of marble, they're reshaping entire mountain ranges to serve their strategic vision. What's truly remarkable about these geographical curiosities is how the Chinese have turned logistical nightmares into tactical advantages. Take the military base near Mount Kailash, for example. It sits at an altitude where most people would struggle to walk, yet it operates sophisticated radar systems that can detect aircraft movements across 3 countries simultaneously. The infrastructure includes underground tunnels that connect multiple peaks, allowing troops to move unseen across vast distances while remaining protected from both enemy fire and harsh weather conditions. These aren't just military bases, they're underground cities complete with hospitals, training facilities, and even recreational areas, all carved into solid rock at altitudes that challenge human physiology. The engineering involved in creating pressurized environments at such heights, while maintaining operational secrecy, represents a level of planning that spans decades of careful preparation. The psychological impact of these geographical curiosities cannot be overstated. When your enemy can literally emerge from the mountains themselves, traditional military doctrine becomes obsolete. Chinese forces have conducted exercises where entire battalions appear to materialize from what looked like empty mountainsides, demonstrating a level of terrain integration that transforms the landscape itself into a military asset. The heating systems alone in these facilities consume more energy than entire small cities, yet they remain completely self-sufficient through geothermal and solar power systems specifically designed for extreme altitudes. This isn't just about building bases in difficult locations, it's about creating a military presence that becomes one with the geographical curiosities of the region, making it nearly impossible to distinguish between natural formations and strategic installations. The implications for any potential conflict scenario become even more complex when you consider how this infrastructure connects to broader regional strategies that extend far beyond these mountain peaks. The Himalayan mountain range represents one of nature's most formidable geographical curiosities, and China has masterfully transformed these natural barriers into what military strategists call defensive multiplication factors, terrain features that amplify the effectiveness of every soldier, every weapon, and every strategic decision. At altitudes where oxygen levels drop to half of sea level concentrations, the human body operates at its physiological limits, yet Chinese forces have spent decades acclimatizing troops specifically for these conditions, creating units that can function effectively where most armies would collapse from altitude sickness alone. The geography itself becomes a weapon system: narrow mountain passes that can be controlled by small units, weather patterns that can ground aircraft for weeks, and terrain so treacherous that a single landslide can cut off entire supply routes for months. These geographical curiosities don't just influence military planning, they rewrite the fundamental rules of engagement, turning conventional warfare doctrine on its head. The defensive advantages of these geographical curiosities extend far beyond simple elevation benefits, creating what Chinese military theorists describe as layered geographical deterrence. The Himalayas feature multiple climate zones within relatively short distances. You can start in temperate valleys and within hours find yourself in Arctic conditions that would challenge even the most experienced mountaineers. Chinese defensive positions exploit these natural boundaries, placing forces at strategic elevations where they can observe vast territories while remaining virtually undetectable from below. The radar shadows created by mountain peaks provide natural stealth corridors, while the extreme weather conditions, from monsoon floods to blizzards that can bury entire camps overnight, create operational windows that only forces intimately familiar with local geographical patterns can exploit. It's like having a fortress designed by nature itself, where every defensive position comes pre-equipped with obstacles that no human engineering could replicate. But here's where these geographical curiosities become truly strategic game changers. They create what military analysts call asymmetric time advantages in any potential conflict scenario. While attacking forces must navigate treacherous terrain, deal with altitude sickness, and adapt to rapidly changing weather conditions. Defending forces operating from prepared positions can leverage their geographical knowledge to predict and counter enemy movements days or even weeks in advance. The Chinese have created detailed microclimate databases for thousands of strategic locations, understanding exactly when mountain fog will provide cover, when seasonal weather patterns will ground aircraft, and how terrain features affect everything from radio communications to weapon accuracy. This level of geographical intelligence transforms the Himalayas from a simple barrier into a sophisticated early warning and defensive system that extends China's effective defensive perimeter by hundreds of kilometers. The integration of this natural fortress with modern technology creates defensive possibilities that reach far beyond these mountain ranges. The control of water resources in the Sino-Indian border region represents one of the most strategically significant geographical curiosities of the 21st century, where ancient glaciers and mountain springs have become the focal points of modern geopolitical maneuvering. China's position at the headwaters of major river systems, including the Brahmaputra, Indus, and Ganges tributaries, gives it unprecedented control over water flows that sustain over 1.5 billion people downstream. The geographical advantage isn't just about quantity, it's about timing and strategic manipulation of water access during critical periods. Chinese engineers have constructed a network of dams, reservoirs, and diversion channels that can literally turn river flows on and off like massive geological faucets, creating what military strategists call hydrostrategic leverage. These geographical curiosities of water control extend far beyond traditional military considerations, touching every aspect of agricultural production, industrial development, and civilian survival in downstream regions. The engineering marvels hidden within these geographical curiosities would astound most people: underground channels that redirect entire rivers through mountain cores, high-altitude reservoirs that store billions of gallons at elevations where water naturally wants to freeze, and pumping systems that operate in conditions where most machinery would fail within hours. The Three Rivers source region alone contains over 200 artificially modified water collection points, each designed to maximize China's ability to control downstream flows during potential conflict scenarios. What makes this particularly fascinating is how these installations appear completely natural from aerial surveillance. The Chinese have mastered the art of camouflaging massive hydraulic infrastructure within the existing geographical landscape. Satellite images show what appear to be natural lakes and streams, but ground truth intelligence reveals sophisticated water management systems that could affect the drinking water supply of entire nations within days of activation. The psychological warfare potential of these geographical curiosities extends into realms that traditional military doctrine never anticipated. Imagine the strategic advantage of being able to create droughts or floods in enemy territories without firing a single shot. Chinese water control systems in the upper reaches of major river basins can influence everything from crop yields in Indian agricultural regions to the operational capacity of hydroelectric plants that power critical infrastructure. The geographical positioning allows China to conduct what analysts term environmental warfare, using natural resource control as a strategic weapon that operates below the threshold of traditional military conflict. These water management capabilities don't just represent defensive advantages, they create offensive possibilities that can project Chinese influence hundreds of kilometers beyond their physical borders. The implications become even more complex when you consider how these water resources connect to broader regional development projects that extend Chinese strategic reach into territories where direct military presence would be impossible. The development of military technology specifically adapted to the extreme geographical curiosities of the Himalayan region represents one of the most innovative chapters in modern warfare engineering, where traditional equipment design simply cannot survive the punishing conditions that define this strategic theater. Chinese military research has produced specialized systems that operate effectively at altitudes where conventional electronics fail due to radiation exposure, temperature extremes, and atmospheric pressure variations that would destroy standard military hardware within hours. The famous plateau tanks, modified versions of the Type 15 light tank, feature pressurized crew compartments, specialized engine cooling systems, and tracks designed to grip ice-covered rocky surfaces that would immobilize conventional armored vehicles. These geographical adaptations aren't just minor modifications, They represent complete reimagining of how military technology must function when geography becomes the primary enemy before any human opponent enters the equation. The communication systems deployed in these geographical curiosities showcase engineering solutions that border on science fiction: satellite relay networks that account for mountain interference patterns, radio systems that can penetrate through solid rock to reach underground command centers, and drone technology specifically designed to operate in air so thin that conventional propeller systems become useless. The Chinese have developed high-altitude military drones with specialized wing configurations that can maintain flight at altitudes exceeding 8,000 meters, conducting surveillance operations where the geographical conditions would ground most aircraft. Perhaps most impressively, they've created weapon systems that automatically compensate for the ballistic effects of extreme altitude. Bullets and artillery shells follow completely different trajectories in thin air, and Chinese targeting computers now include geographical databases that adjust for elevation, air density, and even local magnetic variations caused by mineral deposits in different mountain regions. What truly sets these technological adaptations apart is how they transform geographical curiosities from obstacles into operational advantages through seamless integration with the natural environment. Chinese forces now deploy camouflaged solar panel systems that look identical to natural rock formations, providing power generation capabilities that can sustain military operations indefinitely without external supply lines. The heating systems for personnel shelters use geothermal energy tapped directly from mountain springs, while communication arrays disguised as prayer flags take advantage of local cultural geographical features to hide in plain sight. These technologies don't just allow Chinese forces to survive in extreme geographical conditions, they enable them to thrive and operate with capabilities that would be impossible for forces without such specialized equipment. The technological edge created by these adaptations extends beyond mere equipment advantages, fundamentally altering the strategic balance of power in regions where geographical challenges traditionally favored defensive positions over technological superiority. The geopolitical implications of China's military preparation in these geographical curiosities extend far beyond bilateral tensions with India, creating ripple effects that reshape entire regional power dynamics across South and Central Asia. The strategic positioning within these mountain ranges allows China to project influence into multiple countries simultaneously. A single military installation in the right geographical location can monitor activities in India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even parts of Central Asian republics, creating what geopolitical analysts call multi-vector strategic leverage. These geographical curiosities provide China with observation posts that overlook critical trade routes, including portions of the ancient Silk Road that now carry billions of dollars in modern commerce. The psychological impact on neighboring countries cannot be understated, knowing that Chinese forces occupy positions where they can observe and potentially intercept communications, troop movements, and economic activities across multiple borders creates a constant state of strategic uncertainty that influences diplomatic negotiations, trade agreements, and military planning throughout the entire region. The economic dimensions of these geographical curiosities reveal how military positioning translates into commercial advantages that extend Chinese influence through non-military means. Control of high-altitude positions provides unparalleled intelligence-gathering capabilities for monitoring resource extraction activities, infrastructure development projects, and even climate change impacts across vast territories that span multiple nations. Chinese installations in strategic geographical locations can track everything from mining operations in disputed territories to agricultural productivity patterns that influence food security across South Asia. This intelligence capability allows China to make informed decisions about everything from commodity investments to infrastructure loans, creating economic leverage that reinforces military positioning. The geographical advantage enables China to offer highly accurate weather forecasting services, mineral exploration data, and agricultural consulting to neighboring countries, services that create dependencies while providing cover for intelligence-gathering activities that support broader strategic objectives. Perhaps most significantly, these geographical curiosities allow China to demonstrate what military theorists call escalation dominance, the ability to control the intensity and scope of any potential conflict through superior positioning and preparation. The high-altitude military infrastructure sends clear signals to regional powers about Chinese capabilities while simultaneously providing the means to back up diplomatic positions with credible military threat potential. The geographical advantages create scenarios where China can respond to regional developments with measured escalation that leverages terrain benefits to maximum effect, whether through water resource manipulation, border pressure tactics, or demonstration of advanced military capabilities in conditions where potential adversaries would struggle to respond effectively. This strategic positioning transforms these geographical curiosities into instruments of broader regional policy, where military preparation serves diplomatic objectives that extend Chinese influence across multiple countries and issue areas. The integration of geographical advantages with technological capabilities creates a strategic foundation for Chinese regional ambitions that reaches far beyond the immediate border regions where these preparations are taking place. Now you understand the real game being played in the world's highest mountains, but understanding isn't enough. These geographical curiosities aren't just fascinating military strategies, they're reshaping the global balance of power while most people remain completely unaware. The question isn't whether these developments will affect your life, it's how quickly you'll recognize the changes when they start impacting everything from global trade routes to regional stability. Think about it. If China can control water resources for 1.5 billion people, influence weather patterns across multiple countries, and project military power from positions that seem impossible to challenge, what does that mean for the world you're living in? Are you prepared for a reality where geographical advantages determine international relationships more than traditional diplomacy? Most importantly, are you going to be someone who understands these shifts before they become obvious to everyone else? Or will you be caught off guard when these geographical curiosities start influencing global events in ways that directly impact your daily life? The time for passive observation is over. You now possess knowledge that puts you ahead of 99% of people who have no idea these preparations are happening. Use this understanding to make better decisions about investments, career choices, and even where you choose to live. The geographical curiosities we've explored today aren't just military assets, they're indicators of how power will be distributed in the coming decades. Don't let this knowledge sit idle. Subscribe to our channel and activate notifications to stay ahead of these geopolitical shifts that are reshaping our world. The next episode will reveal even more shocking developments that most people won't discover until it's too late. Your future depends on staying informed about these geographical curiosities that are quietly determining the fate of billions.